retweet, like things like signal boost the things that women or people of color or, are saying that get the same argument across, but not making it about me, I guess.
Yeah. No, I struggle with that too, to be like, I just need to shut up right now. Like, I don't need to like interject myself all the time. And I think that that's probably needed too, to just be like, what they said, I agree. To be like counted as the people who are like, yes, this is something that I agree with. And that's not to say that like that's the only thing you have to do, right? Like, you got to go vote for people that aren't going to fucking like do shitty things. You got to like help out those campaigns when and where you can, if you can, if that's something you can do. Like it's not just about that, like, what do they call it, slacktivism, where like you just virtue signal essentially, like, hey, I'm a good person, but like you got to then do some things. You don't even got to do all the things. You just got to do some things to start turning what we have into something that is better for everyone in all manner of things. But it's when you're talking about social media and celebrities, what people get mad about are those big issues. Black Lives Matter, talking about the president, talking about Confederate monuments. Like, that's what people are like drawn to. Those are lightning rod issues. And that's what those, they really draw those conflicts that you're talking about, or potential conflicts that can be nerve-wracking.
Yeah, well, I can actually give an anecdotal example from my life. When I was promoting Cosmology of Monsters, I did some different essays for different sites in exchange for like, book promotion or whatever. They'd run a banner or an ad, or just gave the book exposure. My publicist usually set them up. And I wrote an essay for a site called Crime Reads, which was basically about writing a book that had to do with H.P. Lovecraft, who, if you know anything about him, he was incredibly xenophobic and incredibly racist, in addition to thinking up some of the coolest monsters of all time. And so sort of an essay about, being a straight white person who didn't think much about those aspects of that figure while writing my book, and having to contend with that after, in the Trump era and all of that. And they say never read the comment section. I read the comment section, and honestly, I think it did cost me some potential readers, because a lot of fandom, sci-fi, fantasy, horror is actually a surprisingly conservative place. And they don't like it when you mess with their icons or try to change them up. You remember how they treated Ghostbusters, the remake in 2016.
Which was literally like not a sequel except name only.
Yeah, it was
like it had nothing to do with the original.
Right. And people like the movie itself at a certain point didn't matter, because the conversation around it became the only thing. Or what, Joker, for example, people, I don't know, it's a weird time to have any sort of opinion out there. So in a way, like, I'm incredibly moved by the people who are brave enough to speak up and to move these conversations forward in ways that I don't feel capable of, and I try to help in my own way. Like when I was in grad school, I worked for the union, and I did a little bit of marching, but mostly I kept their membership database straight for them. Like, that was the main thing I did. I was their office manager, and that helped keep it running. So it's like, there are ways to contribute even if you have social anxiety. There are ways you can do good.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things, like, for me, when Beto ran here in 2018, like, I'm not a door knocker, man. Like, I just can't. Like, I can't, like, walk up to someone, especially someone in Texas, who's gonna be like, no, I don't, what? Get the fuck out of here. Like, Beto?
Maybe threaten some violence, yeah.
Right, like, I didn't want to do that, right? And the people that can do that, God bless them. I can't do it. But I was like, I'm good at data entry. Like, I will go ahead and help with some data entry. And, like, I felt like I contributed because I helped get, potential. I got people that had signed up at some rally or something, I get their name, put it in a database, and the campaign can contact them, to help get out the vote, all that. And that made me feel like, okay, cool. Like, I'm contributing to this campaign. And, like, who knows? He got more votes than, like, any Democrat in the last, like, 20 years. So, like,
it made a difference.
Right. Like, even if it felt like it did, but I also, I feel like it did, and my perception is that it did as well.
And so I guess to double back to Sergio's question again, I guess my opinion would be like, it's every citizen's responsibility to contribute how they can, especially in a time like this where so much is at stake. Whether that be just using your big platform to speak out, or, donating a lot of money to good causes, or doing data entry, so I guess I'm for it. And, as long as you're doing what you genuinely believe is correct, it's scary if it's somebody who's that powerful and then they're saying something, bigoted.
Like the president?
Yeah. Like the president.
Where I stand. This is not a surprise to anyone listening to this show. You know where I stand on that man. And if this is your first time hearing me talk about it, boy, howdy, check out my Twitter sometime. You'll get a real kick out of that.
Yeah. No, you see that video of him walking home from that rally?
He was just so dejected. He looked so dejected, like someone had just fucking shit in his cereal. I am also pro people doing it, so I think the Team Hurricane stamp of approval.
Not that Taylor Swift needed our approval in any way, shape, or form, but
I mean, to be honest with you, I think she did.
But she's got it.
Right.
She always had it. Who are we kidding?
That's fair. I agree with that too. It's like I never was like, oh, she's the worst. I was just like, she's Taylor Swift, and now she's like the biggest
pop star in the world.
One of the biggest pop stars in the world, absolutely. And now she's like, fuck Donald Trump, and I'm like, girl, I don't like that tweet. Because I did like that tweet. I actually think I posted something about how one of her tweets, I said, this tweet will be in a museum one day, because it was just like, she was like, we're coming for you in like November, essentially. And I was like, good Lord, man, like you got T Swift out there, like this cannot stand, man.
Like the quintessential, like symbolically speaking, she's sort of the quintessential white girl in America, right?
Sure,
so like having her kind of like at the spearheading that is a very powerful image. So
and that's like, I don't want anyone to walk away from this and be like, fucking Sean and Daryl said T Swizzle was in charge of Black Lives Matter. Like that's not what we're saying, right? No,
just
not at
that
all.
She used her platform to advocate.
Right. For things, that's one of the things that I talked about. I saw a journalist, and I think he's an attorney now, Sean King. I saw him speak at UTA a couple of years ago, and he said, I totally forgot what we're talking about again. This is the second time.
We have such sites to show you.
Anyway, I don't remember.
Isn't that what he said?
Who?
Nothing. I was making another Cenobite joke. I'm sorry. I did the we have such sites line again.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, he said that, and I was like, I got him at the wrong place. Please, can I get out of here?
And they had all the exits covered by that point. Now you're an S&M demon.
Yep, and so now are you. So are you. So there's someone behind you that you should look at, and she's yeah. Sorry.
I have such sights to see.
You have such sights to see.
I've been wanting to go somewhere since COVID started. This is actually good for me.
All right, I'll see you later. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground this week. We really went through the gamut, to be honest with you, like illegal animals crackers, Taylor Swift being the leader of the
Black Lives Matter. Which we did not say that.
Which we did not say. Do you remember pitching Alien Love?
Yes.
Uh,
and how that was actually the start of what sounds like at least a quartet of films.
yes, there's going to be so many Alien movies that are directed by either written and directed or just written. I'll just write it if you don't want me to direct it. I don't really care. You'll write some, I'll write some, we'll write some together. We're going to give this franchise a makeover at the same time that we give Halloween a makeover.
That's right.
I mean, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I work cheap.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to pay me like half what you got to pay someone else, and I will give you some good shit.
Yeah. Give out you all our best shit. We're not holding it out.
I am poor right now. I'm growing cherry tomatoes, guys. Come on. I'm cheap.
Yeah. He's ripe for the picking.
If you get what he's saying. One more thing before we go. You know that meme from Spider-Man 1 where he says, actually, one more thing before we go. I'm not going to tell you that. I'll tell you that. I'll save that one for next week.
Okay.
So today I made a discovery in the parking lot as I was leaving at my job. And I saw some AirPods on the ground. And I picked them up. And I was like, they're still cool. And I immediately went into like Batman mode. And I was like, who parked here? And I was like, who has AirPods? So like then I actually didn't say that, but I was like, oh, they're still cool to the touch. I was like, I bet someone like this person that has AirPods, I bet they fell out of his pocket. So I texted that person and I was like, hey man, did you park over by this part of the building? And he said, yes. I said, did you lose your AirPods? And he said, yes. And I said, I have them. They're safe. And like, but I did feel in that moment, I was like, holy shit, that was like some Batman type stuff. I was like, I've been out in the hot sun all day.
You turned on detective mode and did a recreation of the scene.
I need to analyze the crime scene. I was rewinding it and doing it forward, and I was like, the AirPods fell out of his pocket right here at this moment. I had to analyze that. The trajectory the car was going.
That is such a specific, targeted joke.
If you've never played the Arkham games, you should. That also gets a big Team Hurricane stamp of approval.
They really do.
All right, that's it for me.
Bye.